Hey, greetings. I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for No Longer Quivering, Papathio's site for almost 10 years. Now I'm freelancing it on my own and happy doing that. Happier not having a timeline every day that I have to meet. I want to talk a little bit today about something that has really been bothering me, and then it's just been a mess. I'm no longer going to cover Katie Joy in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to be doing any updates on Without a Box of Kleenex, nothing. I'm still going to cover some of the same subjects. I'm still going to cover the Josh Duggar trial. I may even make some mild comments about others covering that. But the days where I would go on here and just do these long rants against her are over. Why? Simple. I'm leaving the AntiKatie Joy community. If nothing has happened to show me whatever this week, it is that the time has come for me to just release Katie Joy, about like my friend Carolyn Ironwill smashing the sour jar and letting her out. I am smashing my mental sour jar and letting her out. Hey, Radiant Brit, the time has come. A year is long enough to be mad at somebody for borrowing your content, for getting everything wrong, for standing you up when you're incredibly sick and you had to do something that was counter to your health to actually be ready for that thing. It's over with. And I cannot tell you, I feel so relieved. There are going to be a lot of people going to continue to cover her, and that's good for them. If they feel they can do that and not have it impact their mental health, great. The whole anti-community is a mess, Radiant Brit. That's one thing I want to talk about because, and I have great friends I love in the anti-KJ community. There are some excellent, excellent people. But when I see people posting all the time about let's gang up and pressure so-and-so to do this, or I spoke to KJ and told her that I was sorry for bullying her, but here I am again, getting ready to bully her again. Just all sorts of things that have gone down that. And the other day I made a video where I mentioned a couple of things and said, I'm not down with it. And someone accused me of being a bully for saying those things. The community is now so sick, you can't even say, hey, let's not do that without being called out a bully and other things, other worse things. So there's that. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see the last 3 or 4 days, I've not mentioned KJ in any way, shape, or form. I've only posted about my real life. One of my best friends had a stroke last week, and a small stroke. I've spent a lot of time on the phone with her because she is now in the very hard recovery mode. Like I said the other day before the electricity stopped, because when the electricity goes out here, my feed drops like that, of course. So there's that. She had a stroke, and I'm talking to her about recovery because doctors are not going to tell you much about that. They don't give you much information at all. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at serious things that family members and loved ones are facing. I'm looking at the kind of world we're living in now and thinking, I really don't think I want to be part of this anymore. If people that want to be part of that, fine, go ahead. I'm not throwing shade at you for doing that. You're right. That's your right. You can do that if you want. If that makes you feel good, do it. But for me, I'm just kind of done. I don't like anybody who tries to tell me who I can be friends with. I don't like those kinds of rules being put on me by everybody. Well, not everybody, by some people, and I don't respond well to that. I enjoy talking to others. I mean, I talked to BX Beast Boy the other night, and I've called him. I called him BX Bitch Boy one time when I was laughing about him sad fishing. And And I don't happen to hold the same view of him that I once did. I've changed that. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I've changed to, hey, real. I've changed a lot of my opinions on a lot of people. Yesterday, I went through and I cleaned out my Twitter feed. I just got rid of a lot of people that I don't hold anything against them, but they're in a different headspace than I am now. I really don't want to be any part of this lynch mob any longer. I'm happy there are some people who are going to go ahead and hold Katie Joy's feet to the fire for the mistakes that she makes. I think that's important. But I also think at the same time, there's a very thin line between holding somebody's feet to the fire for their mistakes and it turning into a harassing situation. When that happens, when that happens, I start wondering what the hell's going on in this world. So, what are you going to get here? I am still going to talk about the Duggars. I'm still going to talk about Quiverful. I'm still going to continue on writing my book. I'm moving to Costa Rica. I've been using all of this going on in this community to write several articles that have been published under another name in psychology journals. I've been writing about the lynch mob mentality for a while now, after seeing it firsthand and seeing what it looks like and trying to parse it, because I think it is a problem in all internet communities. I have never seen an internet community that didn't eventually fall apart into recriminations and tightening circles of true believers versus non-true believers. And it's just the most common thing in the world. I think it harkens back to the Middle Ages when you would have lynch mobs, you would have villagers with torches chasing the monster up to the castle to burn them out, like in Beauty and the Beast. And every single Frankenstein or like a horror movie, the werewolf, whatever, we'd see that again and again. It's a common trope. I think this is turning into a common internet trope. I hate to see that. So there's that. So I'm actually writing, this has given me a lot to think about and write about as well. So they can't all be bad. So you're going to be seeing some of my writing projects and video about these anti-communities because it's a lot. They lose their message by their behavior often. I absolutely agree with that, Radiant Brit. I think if you're poorly behaved and if you're as poorly behaved as the person you're talking about, you completely destroy what message you have. Yesterday, even though I was mostly checked out from all of this nonsense, a friend of mine said, you have got to go watch this creator's video. And this is a creator I just do not watch for reasons. Said, you've got to watch this. And I kept saying, I'm busy. Because yesterday I spent most of the day trying to change my plane ticket to go to DC earlier. I'm leaving in 3 weeks to go to DC to see my kids. So, hey, Amy. So I wanted to change it because my friend was asking me to come see her as soon as possible. And then when I saw that I wasn't going to be able to change it, I was trying to get a ticket to DC now, soon. And it was impossible because the situation here with the airlines are that the airlines have not 100% returned here. They have some flights, but not that many. You have Costa Ricans who are freaking out because they can't get vaccinated in Costa Rica because there's hardly any vaccines, who are flying to the States. So the flights are cram-packed. The tickets are 2 to 3 times what they used to be. So there's that. So I can't see her for 3 more weeks. But that's what I was dealing with yesterday when my friend kept PMing me and saying, you got to watch this. Then I had a bunch of other people too. So when I watched it, and it was one of the saddest, sickest things I've ever seen. It was one creator who had made a, quote, song out of the meltdown of another creator and had added a few words, I think, and played that over and over and over on her live stream and laughed over it. Said, this is the funniest song ever. Anything that is that cruel to another human being is not funny. I don't care how you rap it, what you call it. That is not funny. That is classic bullying. I reported all the videos. I know that it's probably not going to do anything because this is YouTube, and YouTube seems to love the people that behave the worst for some reason. And there's that. Radiant Brett, I'm sure you do, because it was passed around like crazy yesterday, and it really made me it made me crazy. It made me crazy. Hey, Ruth. I don't like to see anybody act that cruel to anybody else without good reason, I should say, because I have certain family members, including a late aunt, that I would have laughed if there's something horrible had happened to them. But that's only because she was involved in my father's death. What I'm saying is there's very few and far between circumstances where that is ever appropriate to act like that. Yeah, I want that situation to die too. You saw it, Rio? I think all of us must have seen it by now. Definitely not well done. Something kind of tacky, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm just going to say I love Dottie Bargan. I've started going to her streams because she doesn't talk about the drama. She doesn't talk about anything except some fun stuff. And the other night we had a Game of Thrones trivia. I was in that until Issei and their wisdom destroyed my internet and kicked me out. And she was doing misheard lyrics the other night, and that was pretty funny. I laughed at both of those, and I really needed to laugh. Hey, Bliss. Um, so there's that. There's going to be those creators that are going to say some good things. Like I said, for myself, it's going to be quiverful. Some topical things like the Josh Duggar situation. There's always going to be some news story I'm going to rant on. There's always going to be talking about Costa Rica. Hell, I might even start talking about arts and crafts. This is Plarn. I'm making a cover for the railing of the pool out of plastic yarn I made from plastic bags because I'm tired of burning myself, touching that metal with third degree burn, screeching. Ah! So there's always going to be those things. Dottie is a nice person. She's a genuine, nice person. None of them want to see Dottie in real life. Yeah, nothing good can come of being cruel. You're right. And as far as earning karma points, I think that being cruel and the kind of behavior, some of the kind of behavior I'm seeing, it can only play out badly for people, I think, in the long run. Mr. Saltz last night mentioned something about people in the community who had been manipulating Nat to do illegal things. And I find that reprehensible. I've talked to Nat quite a bit. She's a sweet young lady. I don't think that anybody needs to be trying to weaponize or manipulate her in any way, shape, or form. That's pretty evil out there, too. So there's that. And as far as the KJ thing is gone for me, I've completely let go of whatever anger I had at her. It took a while because if you violate my accommodations, my disability accommodations, if you ever want to make me super angry, do that. Do that. And it was a surprise for me recently when it happened again at the church because I'm in Costa Rica. People here are way kinder than anything I've ever seen in the United States. They have shamed me with their kindness. They brought me to tears a number of times. This morning, I got up and let the pool guys in. They showed up with flowers for me. They picked a few flowers. I love those guys. Here I'm treated respectfully because I'm an older woman. It's the strangest, nicest thing. The last time I went to Costco, I had to fend off 5 or 6 people that wanted to help me put my stuff in my car because they saw I had a cane. And my stuff was a bottle of shampoo that was maybe this big, and a 5-pound bag of almond meal, and a thing of cat food. Easily handleable. I was not struggling at all. I was just blown away by their kindness. Every time I turn around, someone here is unbelievably kind and goes way out of their way to me. And it always blows my mind. I'm always humbled, and I always almost shed a tear over it because I have not seen that in the United States in so long, where we used to be kind to each other. We used to take care of each other. Fallout is very different. It depends on it depends upon who is going through what is what their fallout will be. I haven't had a lot of fallout. I'm going to say that. Mostly for me, it was not even fallout. It was watching various people in my real life start to struggle with stuff. Then I would come into the community and people would be saying X, Y, and Z, and I'd be gagging. That's really what the fallout was for me, is that I started looking at my real life, which if you look at my pictures on Twitter today, I put a bunch up of some of the places that I go to, the beach a mile and a half from here. I took pictures of the hummingbirds right in front of my window, right in front of where I'm sitting now. The hummingbirds drinking out of the birds of paradise. And I can't think of anything that's more beautiful. Those are the kind of things I want to focus on now, not KJ. Besides, there are people that actually focus on holding KJ's feet to the fire that do it way better than I ever did. I was always filled with anger and emotion when I talked about her. And I don't want that anymore. I want her to do better, but I want her to do better over there away from me. Hey, Christoph. I thought about that, Amy. Fending them off with my cane. I thought about the comedy the other night of everything that happened when I was cooking, and my microwave died, my toaster died, the paper plates my husband bought that were super thin styrofoam melted when I put meatballs and spaghetti pasta on the plate, and it went right through the plate. And suddenly I had every cat in the universe at my feet eating meatballs. This is just one of those things. So many things went bizarrely haywire that I just started laughing. I just started laughing. So there's so much, and I've thought about the comedy thing because, believe it or not, I have done stand up. It's been a while, but I have done it, and always enjoyed joking around about stupid stuff. You're right, Radiant Brent. There always will be, and that's their path. I'm not going to fault them for that. That's their path. It's just not my path any longer. Because I'm not going to talk about KJ anymore, Brittany. This is it. I'm leaving the anti-KJ community because of just how it's splintered and gone. Well, it's a couple of things. It's splintered and gone a little on the wacky side, more than I can handle. And with real life, like I said, real life has been kind of crazy here. So I'm just not able to cope anymore with this and with doing this. I would say blessings and go do your thing, but I can't keep doing the same thing anymore. Thank you, Radiant Brit. Thank you, Christoph. That's what this is all about. Yeah, I think at this point, everybody's going to be really careful about how they cover this. I mean, like I said, look at the thing Salts posted yesterday, where they knew that people in the community were winding up Nat to use her to commit some illegal acts. I don't want to be any part of that. It just breaks my heart. I feel like crying because, like I said, I've talked to Nat. She's really sweet. And I've always been somebody that turns to, well, always if there's a group of people and there's a couple little oddballs off to the side, you have your you have your underdogs. It's always the underdogs I'm going to go to. That's just how I'm wired. I don't know why. I always root for underdogs every single time. And there's so much more to talk about. You're right, Amanda. There is so much more to talk about. Today, Sheila Ray Gregory, who's a friend of mine, approached me about moving to Costa Rica. She's thinking about doing it. And so I started talking to her about that. Real, and you have reason to fear for your life. I mean, let's be realistic. Derek Chauvin got 22 years yesterday. But in this in the U.S., I can't say in this nation because it's not in the U.S. any longer. In the U.S., there is unequal justice. There just is for different things. You know, Aaron was asking me last night what my ethnicity is. And this is one reason why I've kind of stood back a little bit from certain aspects of the KJ community, anti-KJ community too, because I ain't entirely white. So a couple of years back, everybody in our family went and got the one of those ancestry kits, one of those kits you have done. They analyze your DNA. I knew I was Cajun, and Cajun is a whole mixture of everything, including French and a little bit of Native American, Indian, various things. Well, anyway, mine came back. I had a way higher percentage of Indian than I ever dreamed. I've gone ahead and registered with one of the tribes because they have identified me as being a member of that. And I had no idea it was that high of a percentage. Aaron was asking me if I was Hispanic. Nope, no Hispanic blood in me whatsoever. I can say that from having had a genetic test. I've got Cajun French. I've got Native American. Got a little bit of Scottish and what do you call that? They said Scandinavian, whatever that means. And I found out that I'm part Jewish and some African. So I always knew I had something in me that was a little different. Like I said, I'm fry bread colored. I'm not lily white. Even when I'm like right now, I'm staying out of the sun because it's so hot. Oh, Bliss Chris, thank you so much for saying that I was separate from that. I'm glad. I know there are. Oh, was he, Amy? Oh, I don't run around and meet too many Cajuns these days where I am. You know what I meet besides Costa Rican Ticos? A whole lot of white people, very white people. And I don't really fit in the expat community here because it's almost all Republican millionaire types and billionaires. And watching the millionaires fight over stuff is pretty interesting, I got to say. When you have people who in the States, their money has bought them privileges, but here they're just one of many and it doesn't buy them a privilege. It's another interesting psychological thing that I've been making notes on. Like I said, at least I can say I pulled away some interesting ideas about what happens when you put a bunch of millionaires together. I've actually thought about writing a book about them, something political and funny, because they get into all kinds of crazy stuff here. And it's pretty interesting to watch, just from the side. Puerto Rican and Jewish, Amy, that's a good combination. We couldn't figure out why we had so many cases of Tay-Sachs in our family, because none of us were Jewish. We were Cajun. We found out why. We got Jewish blood, so that's why we had Tay-Sachs in the family. And had no idea all these years. One of my aunts did a family tree finally, and it was kind of interesting because the family tree for the Cajun side, she got it done all the way back to like the 1500s by using the Catholic Church's records, believe it or not. Basically, what happened is the entire family was Jewish and German and living north of Frankfurt, Germany. And then suddenly cross the border into France, they're suddenly French Catholics. Go figure. I'm pretty sure they were probably running and hiding from the anti-Jewish sentiment at the time. where Jews were being blamed for the Black Plague and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I guess it makes sense, but it makes me laugh because after I got married, that was one thing I did. I moved to Germany, and we lived about an hour north of Frankfurt along the Fulda River. And I kept telling my husband, it's like, there is something that feels really familiar here. And I can't really put my finger on it because I'd never been to that part of Germany before. I'd done what everybody does, go to Bavaria, go to see Neuschwanstein, go to Munich and drink beer at the Hofbrauhaus. I wish this was beer. It's just Diet Coke today. But I did all that. So it's interesting. It's interesting when you start figuring those things out and you start finding out about that. I was raised Catholic. Cajun culture. I was raised extremely Catholic. Catholic school, Catholicism, the whole 9 yards. I even went to Catholic summer camp in St. Mary of the Pines in Chattawalla, Mississippi. When I became an adult, I was just done with Catholicism altogether. Now I sometimes go to the Catholic Church here, and when I'm in Louisiana with my aunt, I go to hers. But most of the time I don't. I ended up as a Protestant, which is kind of a rebellion almost against everything I was raised with. For. So I have a greater appreciation now for the Catholics and the Catholic Church than I did as a child. As a child, I just thought it was a bunch of BS. My father was Episcopal, so I went to the Episcopalian church as well. Church. I remember making crap up to shock the priest in confession when I was a teenager, just for the hell of it, just to do it. You knew it was wrong, but you do it. And Amanda, I can appreciate that now where I never could before. Hey, Star Lily. And I married a German, of all things. My husband is 100% ethnic German. They don't have to do much on him. I knew that because his parents are both German, from German families that moved over to their little town in Indiana all around the same time. You can look back at the bloodlines. In fact, we found the village in Germany they all came from, found his relatives in Germany from back before the First World War. So that was it. And it was pretty interesting. It must be nice to have that kind of certainty and just know. But I just did not know. No. And here's the sad thing. I'm going to tell you, but there's a little bit of a warning about those tests. Somebody in our family discovered that their father wasn't their father. There were also other surprises like that. There were big surprises for some people, and it can really shake things up. I don't know if they've ever confronted their elderly mother, this person, or not yet, but they found out that they weren't even related. It's pretty bizarre. I've had friends that have found that out. They found out their father was not their father after they ran those tests. And that's a huge shock. I cannot imagine that. I just cannot imagine. Yeah, it would be awful. It'd be an awful way to find out. An awful way. Oh, Star Lily, where did you live in Germany? I lived in Fulda. And at the time, there was an East and a West Germany. And we were very close to the East German border. That's why my husband was there. He was a Russian linguist. He was listening to Russian broadcasts, trying to intercept information and decode it. That was his job there. I worked for the USO. I loved it. I got to go around and give tours. I got to visit people and talk to them. I got to help people get adjusted to shopping on the economy, or going here, going there, going to the Stadt clinic to have their babies, or going to where I went to, which was Herz Jesus, Heart of Jesus. I had my son in a very Catholic hospital, so Catholic they were piping in mass 3 times a day. Ramstein, that's fine. I know where Ramstein is. I've been there. Amy, I left Louisiana. Nobody does that. Everybody stays in the New Orleans area. Not me. I just left. I decided that I was going to have a life. I was going to have an interesting life. I was married for a really short time when I was a teenager, and it was so disastrous that when I left and said, okay, now we're going to get serious. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I did. And I met my husband. His parents were both his father was a dean. His mother was an instructor at LSU. So I met my husband. He had been through a lot in his lifetime. His father had taken him all over the world before he was 10 years old. And it's always been interesting. There's always been something we've been up to since we've been married. We went to Germany, Turkey, different places. Now we're living in Costa Rica. This was actually a kind of an easy move in some ways because I'd done enough international moves that I knew how to pack everything. The first shipping thing we did went real well. The guys showed up to pick it up and said, oh, you've done this before. You did it perfectly. And I said, yes, I've done this before. This was not my first go around with this nonsense. So that's another reason why I started thinking about it. Oh, you went to St. Mary of the Pines. Oh my gosh. Oh, New Hampshire, run by nuns. I went to St. Mary of the Pines in Chautauqua, Mississippi. It's where everybody from South Louisiana who was Catholic would send their kids for a camp sometimes. Now, here's where it got really funny. Years later, when I was working in a clinic in Northern Virginia, I ran into somebody I knew from St. Mary of the Pines. We worked together. And we had a lot of fun talking about our time in Catholic camp. Baton Rouge is, it's very rainy and well. For me, the problem was my asthma. I was born with it. Living in Baton Rouge was torturesome. Every time I go down there to see relatives that live in Baton Rouge, my asthma and my allergies go crazy, out of control. I got to medicate like I'm some kind of dope head when I'm there. I just can't handle it. My mother still lives there. I keep trying to get her to move somewhere else, and she just won't. Them. There's a lot of mold there too. A lot of mold. With the oak trees and all their leaves shedding and all the mold being put together from those, it is really a mess there. A mess. And you throw in the very corrupt government systems there and everything else. Louisiana is the only state in the union that had a governor that used to go to Vegas on a regular and gamble under fake names like T. Fong. That was Slick Eddie Edwards. So that's always pretty interesting. And I laughed when Snoop Dogg tried to buy a house in the same neighborhood that Edwin Edwards lives in. I just thought that was the funniest. And my mother lives there too. So it's interesting because I got to see everybody griping about him moving into their neighborhood. You want to talk about racism? That is, pure hardcore racism. The stuff they were coming up with to justify their racism was some of the most interesting and stupid stuff I've ever seen. Almighty, yes, because I want to have my power. I want to do things as long as I can do them. Okay. I could let somebody have those things and say, oh, yeah. But let me tell you something. I'm not going to get well or stay well until I can do things for myself. And that's part of your power, too, is protecting what is yours. When you protect those things that you can do, especially if I get the diagnosis, they move my doctor's appointment again, it's on the 12th. If I get the diagnosis I think I'm going to get that they keep hinting at, it's going to be important for me to do everything I can do physically for as long as I can do it to keep up my strength. Amy, yes, they do. They're like it's nothing. And the ones that were trotting out to deny him living in that neighborhood were just disgusting. Noelle, I think it probably is. If it's not MS, it's mast cell MS-like disease, they've said. So same treatment, whatever. I like to do that. Christoph, I love to do that. I've not had good ones in a long time. Yeah, Amy, one of the things that happened to me that Also, I started thinking about all this craziness in the community is about back in February. You could have taken a marker and drawn it all the way down my body. I suddenly, from this side on, it's just pins and needles. I've just got pins and needles sensation. I don't have full sensation. So, like grabbing a tissue, my hand works. I know I'm grabbing the tissue. I don't feel it like I would feel it in my right hand. It screwed up my balance so bad that I'm falling down unless I'm using a cane because my balance is off. So I have had to have 5 trillion tests, and this is the third time that I've had the let's rule out MS thing in my lifetime, because in the last couple of years I've had a couple bouts where they were swore it was MS, and then later after because well, we don't know what it is, but it's not MS. So I'm going around for round number 3 this time. But this is a lot more serious. This has impacted my ability to be mobile. It's impacted my ability to be able to pick my things up out of my grocery cart and put them up. So I'm kind of funny about that now. I don't want to be helped. I don't want anyone grabbing my arm and helping me across the street. I don't want anybody helping me pick up my cat food unless I genuinely cannot do it. I want to do what I can do for as long as I can, just in case I do have MS. I really want to be able to keep moving and grooving. And the secret to moving is moving more. That's why I get in the pool every day for at least an hour now. I don't think so. I know they don't want it to stop. So I don't think it's side effects from my asthma meds, Amy. I don't. This was just so strange and out of the blue. And I don't know. I do know that mast cell also has something that looks and acts a lot like MS, but it's not MS, but it does leave white matter in your brain. So I think it may be that. It's either that or MS. And I'm going on the 12th. I have an appointment with one of the better neurologists here. Going in for another evaluation. They'll probably do a spinal tap, and I'm going to get my head CAT scanned yet again. And they've got all those other CAT scans in my brain to compare it to through the years. And I don't think it's, like I said, I don't know what to think at this point. But my doctor, my primary care, is hinting at me that I need to prepare myself emotionally just in case the diagnosis is MS. And if it is what it is. Remitting, relapsing if I have it. I'm sure if I have it, it's the remitting and relapsing type, because I have times where I'm fine and have times where I have a lot of balance issues. No, they have not checked for that. Amy, yes, I do. I trust the doctors here. I actually trust the doctors here a little bit more. I've not had as much of this. You know how in the States you can get doctors that are extremely arrogant, that they have in their mind one thing and one thing only, and they're going to diagnose you with that regardless. I don't see much of that here. Now, my favorite doctor in the States was my lung doctor that I had for years and years and years. He was a Korean, and he had also practiced in Korea for a while. He was actually open to alternative treatments and to all sorts of things. I like that about him. And he also kept up on everything. Like when they first started doing the thing where they run a wire down into your lungs and they run microwaves through your lungs and burn open your bronchioplasty. When they first started doing that, I asked him, he started talking about it. I said, do you think I need to have that done? Would it be helpful? He says, I don't think so. But if we decide later that it is, I want to see what the long term is going to be. He says, I am not comfortable with the idea of putting scar tissue in your lungs to keep your lungs open. I have RA. The key is to keep moving. Specialist said that he could text MS, but the doctor says no. He hasn't done an MRI, so how does he know? Yeah, you're right, Star Lily. So many times they will act like that. Amy, and that's the other thing I have to say about living in Costa Rica. The healthcare system here is the best. It's the best in that I have private insurance, just like I do in the States. It's the same insurance, actually. I just brought it here because I'm not on the CAHA system yet. And even if you're on the CAHA system, which is the socialized medicine they have here, you're still going to want to keep your personal insurance because the CAHA system is overwhelmed. There are fewer doctors, fewer hospitals. It's very bare bones. Almost always when you have to have surgery, everybody I know tries to raise the money to have it done at a private clinic. So we do the private clinic thing, and we probably will, even if we become Costa Rican residents, do the private clinic. To go to the doctor, you can go to the doctor here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can just walk into the clinic, and that's awesome. And be seen. The fees for the doctors are less than my copay fees were in the States. And I just turn around and submit it to insurance. They pay a portion of it. I'm already way ahead, already just there. Same thing with the healthcare here. Like if you're buying drugs, like I've said many a time on my streams, I'm going to say it one more time. Lyrica, if you don't have insurance in the States, this little box of Lyrica can run you $500 if you don't have insurance in the States. Here, without insurance, it runs $40. $40. Drugs are so much cheaper here, name brand drugs. Walk in the doctor's office anytime you want. Many drugs aren't prescription. My Lyrica isn't even prescription. They just, I think you should try Lyrica. This is how you're going to dose it. So when I needed my Lyrica, all I did was just walk in and say, hey, I need Lyrica. I need some 75 milligrams. I need some 150s, blah, 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 blah. All of that. Nothing. The only thing you have to have a prescription here for, or anything you get high with, like benzos, like opioids. Those things require a written prescription for the doctor, but most things don't. What's the one thing I miss the most? I can tell you right now, shopping. I live in Tamarindo, the Gold Coast. It's a beautiful area. I'm 10 minutes from 10 world-class beaches. That's the nice thing about it. The bad thing is Tamarindo is very rural, and so is this entire area. It's just really rural. If I wanted to do a good shopping spree, I got to go an hour to Liberia. If I want to do a really good shopping spree, almost like the States, I got to go 5 hours away to San Jose, and there's still some things I miss. So when I go back to the States, my kids have teased me that I do crazy shopping. I go 2 or 3 times a year. Well, I did before COVID. And I would have an enormous suitcase. I would have my clothes in a teeny tiny suitcase inside the enormous suitcase, and a medium-sized suitcase in there too. And I would buy everything that I could possibly think we might need that's hard to get here and load my suitcases up. Like I said, 1 suitcase going there, 3 or 4 coming back. It's just the way we all do it here. So I miss that. Yep, Star Lily. It does make you feel better. And that's what I miss. I miss that. I miss my friends, of course. I miss my friends a lot. Because like I said, it's a strange community here. There are a lot of wealthy in types that I don't have anything in common with. There are a lot of surfer types. I don't surf anymore. I don't have as much in common with them. They're all a lot younger. There are a lot of retirees here, but I'm finding I don't have as much in common with them as I assumed I was going to. But I have found my base group of weirdos here, so I do have my friends. It's just a smaller. I'm going to have to try that, Noelle. I sometimes will do long meditations, and that helps with pain tremendously. Well, Starly, that is really great. That if that works for him, more power to you. I'm not entirely in love with meds myself. I have a sinus infection. You see what I'm using? Garlic. I take 10,000 milligrams 4 times a day when I have a sinus infection, and it kills it better than any antibiotic I've ever tried. So I'm kind of halfway on the fence on those. I use the things I know work for me, and I take supplements too. That's really the only way that you can stay on top of that stuff. It's just about then. So that's it. And the shopping, mostly it's craft items. I can't walk. There's only one store I know here. I have one art store I go to. She has a decent supply of things, but she doesn't have everything and she doesn't have great yarns. So I use Amazon a lot. Amazon will ship here. If it's something that like yarn where the import fee and the taxes aren't that much, I'll buy it. If it's something like I tried to buy a mattress pad one time, a $50, well, a mattress pad that was on sale for $50 for my bed. And the shipping wasn't too tremendous. They got me on was the aduana, the taxes, the import fees they charge you for bringing that stuff in. The import fee was $150 on a $50 mattress pad. I said no thanks, and I just kept hitting the regular places I go looking for a mattress pad till they had a good one. I got one. Amy, that's the other thing. But my husband's picking those up in the States. I left him with a little teeny tiny list and said, go get these things. Star Lily, shh. Don't tell him. Some of the things I take are pretty necessary. And like I said, I've laughed so hard about the Benadryls when they said that Benadryl causes you to have dementia quickly. I got news for them. If that was the case, I would have had dementia at 3 years old because throughout my asthmatic life, that's a drug that has worked very well in helping keeping down my allergies. I take other things, but this is I'll have to pull up something good. Like I said, the only thing I have sitting out here right now is this, and this is made out of shredded plastic shopping bags, and it's going around the handle of the pool so I don't burn my hand anymore getting in and out of the pool. So I'll have to see what I can do about pulling up my crochet and show you guys something because I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it more here since I have a lot less to do here than I did in the States. In the States, it seemed like I was always very busy. Here, it's a very slow pace of life. I've really embraced that. That has been awesome for me. Now, being ill, it's been a lot more awesome for me to have nothing on the schedule that I absolutely must do every single day. I go to the beach 3 or 4 times a week and walk. Even now, it's with the cane. I walk with my cane in the beach, but I still walk it. I walk in the pool and swim every day because that's really helpful for balance, believe it or not. It's been one of the best things I've done as far as helping calm you down. That's interesting. They didn't give it to me to calm me down. They gave it to me, so that my allergies would not go haywire. Noelle, I don't sell anything because I've done some pieces for some people, but I'm just too ADD. As you can know, me hopping on here, I don't even know what I'm doing with stuff the next day, much less planning on making something to sell. I'm working right now on an Afghan that I bought the pattern, which is something I usually never do. I had to buy the pattern because it was so complex. I couldn't just look at the thing and say, okay, yeah, there's so many rows of this and that. It's a pattern they have over at Ravelry, and I should post a link to it because it's crazy. It's so beautiful, but it's the hardest thing I've ever done. This is the first project I've worked on where I'm saying, oh my God, I screwed this up 6 rows ago, pull out everything, start again and again and again. This is haywire, that's haywire. I've got to fix it. My daughter, when she was a teenager, used to always criticize me for that. She'd say, why are you taking that apart? You never are satisfied with anything. It's like, well, if I made a mistake that many rows back, I have got to completely undo the piece and start again right there. And I think that's kind of a metaphor for life too. There are times when you're like, oops, I really made a mistake here. Let me go back and apologize and do the thing. Even if I don't feel like apologizing, I haven't changed my mind, I'm going to apologize just so that this person will feel better. There's those times too. Finger knit. I can't knit at all, Noelle. I can crochet anything under the sun. I've tried knitting. Carolyn Ironwill is talking about coming here to live. If she comes here to live and she's in that guest house of mine, guess what? She's going to have to teach me how to knit because I just cannot. I don't know why. My brain, I guess, is stuck on crochet. I've got the one hook and I'm continually moving. So I don't know. I don't know if this dog is too old to learn new tricks or not, learn how to knit. But there it is. There it is, you know. I still crochet, I still paint, I still do a lot of quilting. I still do all the creative stuff that I've done for years. And I guess I'll continue to do that. I can't paint oils anymore, react to the oils, but I can certainly do acrylics. I don't know if you can see it from here. See the painting over the bed? I did that. I did that. That one was fun because I used a different technique for each and every layer of that painting. Oh, thank you so much, Noelle. Oh, thank you. My yarn fun. Thank you very much. I'm getting ready to order a giant batch of yarn. And I was going to send my husband after some, but I think sending a man after yarn can be problematic. And particularly, he's the kind of guy, if you take him into Michael's or an art store or anything, he gets all goofy. He gets all goofy and said, there's no men in here, blah, blah, blah. Now, I could take him into the old, there was a art supply place off the campus of UVA in Charlottesville that I used to go to all the time. And he used to come with me there. He would buy me a giant gift certificate for my birthday and for Christmas. And I'd drag him in there and get all kinds of stuff because painting oils can be very expensive. That's the other thing. Acrylic is a lot less costly. Now, I prefer oils. It gives it a depth that acrylics will not, but got to do what you got to do. If you're smelling it and it's making you wheeze, you got to put it down. Okay, you guys, I've talked a lot today, even though I intended to talk about why I was stepping away from KJ so much. I've ended up talking about art, which is my favorite thing, and I may start talking about that here too. Art and books. I mean, who ever thought? Books, reading books? And I've read a couple of super crazy ones by Christian authors in the last year too. So anyway, you guys, you have a good day. You have a good day. Like I said, when you feel like you need to walk away from something that's no longer serving you, that's perfectly fine. You just have to do what you got to do. Love you guys.